Next up is Dr. Robin Russell-Jones, who I have had the pleasure of working with on the coordinating team over the last several months. Tonight, he is going to present on behalf of Marlow Energy Group. Please take it away, Robin. You have 10 minutes.
So our mission is motivated by the urgent need for humanity to reduce man-made emissions of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases. And we've set a date of 2030 to achieve carbon neutrality in Marlow. The date has not been pulled out of the air. It's based on the latest scientific data and the need to avoid irreversible climate change. Carbon emissions were supposed to reduce after 1990, which is the baseline year for the Kyoto Protocol. In fact, global emissions have increased annually year on year and are now 60% higher than they were in 1990. You could say that the Kyoto Protocol has proven a spectacular failure. The world has emitted more carbon since 1990 than all previous years going back to before the Industrial Revolution. We will likely reach 1.5 degrees of warming by 2030 and not 2040 as predicted in the IPCC's business as usual scenario. 1.5 degrees, of course, is the preferred limit in the UN Paris Agreement on climate change. Thus far, the world has warmed by 1.1 centigrade, but that measures surface temperatures over both land and sea. Over Europe, temperatures have increased by 2 degrees since 1850, and in the Arctic, temperatures have increased by more than 3 degrees centigrade since 1905. That may not seem a lot unless you consider that the world has only warmed by 5 degrees since the last ice age. Furthermore, as Dave Hampton mentioned earlier, the Arctic is showing evidence of destabilization and positive feedback systems are beginning to kick in. Temperatures in the autumn are up to 30 degrees greater than the seasonal average. Wildfires are breaking out in the Arctic for the first time ever, feeding more carbon into the atmosphere and darkening the snow, leading to further loss of albedo. Meltwater from Greenland is now running at 8,500 metric tons per second, a rate of loss that was not predicted by the IPCC until 2040. Once the tundra starts to thaw, huge quantities of methane will be released. Mankind will lose control of global warming no matter what we do. It will have become irreversible, dooming the prospects for future generations. So what has all this got to do with Marlow? Well, everything or nothing, depending on your point of view. But anyone who thinks that a small person can't make a difference has never spent the night with a mosquito. The do-nothing view is dangerous and irresponsible. It says, what difference can I make? My carbon emissions don't matter. I'm going to continue taking 2 foreign holidays a year, flying to Eastern Europe for a stag weekend. I'm going to buy another 3-litre gas-guzzling Range Rover instead of cycling, walking, or using an electric vehicle. I'm going to sit outside in my hot tub and use a leaf blower instead of raking up the leaves myself. The do-everything view is less selfish and less parochial. It recognises that carbon emissions globally reflect the carbon footprint of every individual on the planet. If we as individuals don't take responsibility for our carbon emissions, then why should governments? The official carbon footprint of the average UK citizen, according to the government, is 7 tonnes of CO2 equivalent per annum. But that figure is obtained by dividing the UK's territorial emissions of 464 million tonnes of carbon a year by the population of the UK, which is 66 million. However, the figure of 7 tonnes is very misleading, as the carbon footprint of any UK citizen should include the stuff that we import from abroad. Any consumer product has a carbon footprint embedded in its manufacture. It should also include aviation, which is currently excluded from the national carbon inventory. When these are factored in, the actual footprint of the average UK citizen is over 9 tonnes of CO2 per annum, which is twice the global average. I've compared this with the carbon footprint of the average Marlow resident. And if you go on to the MEG website, there's an article there called Carbon Footprints, where I reproduce pie diagrams of the average UK citizen and the average Marlow resident. I think it's fair to say that Marlow is an affluent town. It's in the top 10% of income for the United Kingdom. So certainly we use more home energy, we use more in transport, because most of us drive cars. I think carbon footprint of food in Marlow is probably lower than the UK average because of the sterling efforts done by TTM, buying food locally and being low meat eaters, fish eaters, vegetarians or vegans. Meg's job is to reduce the size of the bit of the pie concerned with energy through the use of carbon saving technology. A Meg survey recently showed that there are only 75 houses in Marlow that are currently fitted with photovoltaic panels, and only 39 have solar thermal installations. Considering Marlow has a population of 15,000, there is huge potential for improvement. There is not a single solar installation on any of the buildings in the Globe Business Park, let alone a ground source heat pump. Again, we have a long way to go. Schools are not much better. William Borlez had permission to install photovoltaic panels on the sixth form block that was built 2 years ago, but there were no panels fitted. Why not? Schools are forever getting kids to undertake environmental projects that raise awareness of climate change. So why don't they practice what they preach? Air source and ground source heat pumps will soon replace gas boilers in all new buildings. That's been mandated by the government. There is no reason why these cannot be included now in planning applications. The Marlow Energy Group has a four-pronged strategy for dealing with these problems, as detailed on its website. I don't have time to explore these in great detail, except to say that we educate, facilitate, provide funding, and in some cases, project manage carbon-saving technologies. And this effort is aimed at schools, businesses, churches, and other organisations, as well as individual households. We are looking for new members, so please indicate your support by joining and making a donation. The buttons are available on the Marlow Energy Group website. Thank you, and I'm sorry about the screen sharing.
Thank you very much, Robin, for that. Excellent despite technical difficulties.